Humanist Perspective, presented by the New Orleans Secular Humanist Association, following our few principles of humanism.
We're committed to the use of science and reason for understanding the universe and for solving human problems. We're skeptical of untested claims of knowledge, but we're open to new ideas.
We are concerned with securing justice and fairness in society and in ending intolerance and discrimination. We are committed to the total separation of religion and government.
We affirm humanism as a realistic alternative to the theologies of despair and the ideologies of violence. We reject the concept of an afterlife and believe in living a full and rewarding life here and now.
We value and respect each individual's right to judge and lead their lives according to their own position, as long as it's respectful of other people, living in a free society.
We hope you enjoy today's program and others in the weeks to follow.
Hello and welcome to the Humanist Perspective, brought to you by the New Orleans Secular Humanist Association. I'm Beth Deitch, and I'll be your host for the show. I'm the membership coordinator for NOSHA, and I sit on the board of directors. You can go to nosha.org to get more information about us and about humanism in general. This show is going to be one of our little informal in-group chats with some fellow NOSHA members and friends. So we have William Gautreaux and Sabrina Jacks and Marla Johnston joining us. And our topic today is going to be Atheist for the holidays. So we're all atheists, so obviously we hate Christmas, right? Hate it?
Oh, no, obviously. I love Christmas.
Yeah, but it's called Christmas.
Okay.
Yeah, of course, Thursday's named for Thor. We don't say if you don't believe in Thor, how are you enjoying Thursday?
I think I'm going to use that.
Yeah. So why do you like Christmas?
Well, I mean, I was raised in religion. I was raised Catholic, and I, raised singing the Christmas carols, and always had a Christmas tree and the lights. And there's just something about, when it's cold and you have all the decorations and the foods and the friends. To me, that's what it's about. It's about togetherness and
sort of the continuity of traditions.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah,
and most people that I know who aren't believers, that's why they like it also.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone who hates. Well, there are people who hate Christmas. But
I'm sure there must be somewhere, but you know what I mean. But you can kind of make it your own. Like how do you think you make the holiday your own?
I think a lot of it is figuring out what is important to you. I was raised in a very religious. Well, my grandparents were very religious. And it was church and all these things, but also it was a big deal to be giving back and figuring out, like, kind of taking stock of the year, a little bit of kind of the New Year's idea, but also, like, what good did you do this year? What good are you going to do? Kind of aspect of it. Nice. And we were very involved in, going out and figuring out what people need. We did adopting the angels from the trees. And we did gift baskets.
Those are the things where, like, they have a needy family or kids or something, and then you get them stuff.
Very, very, very fun to do.
Yeah. So what about you, Marla? How do you feel like you make the holidays your own?
Well, Christmas is actually one of my least favorite holidays, and I think it is less of a religious reason and more of just this American commercialism and this constant drive to want something, and the shopping and the sales and the pressure to participate in Black Friday and Cyber Monday and that whole aspect of it, to me, really detracts from some of what we should be doing.
Yeah.
My family, all my siblings are adults, and their children, my nieces and nephews, are all adult age. We've decided we don't do the gift exchange anymore. We just get together and we eat and we have a party and we be with each other. And so just for that reason, we just don't like the whole commercial aspect of it. And besides, I know best what I want.
Right. My siblings and I, we did that too, because when we're like, none of us want more stuff. We all have way too much stuff, and so buying presents just to buy presents for people is kind of pointless. And so we pretty much all decided not to do it. And I find as I've just scaled back on any of that stuff, we do cards, we do, and I like to try and spend time with people, but I don't travel. My family's scattered, and I don't travel at this time of year because, not being Christian, it's not like this is the day I have to be with them. I will go see somebody in January or February when the rest of the world is not also trying to travel. And I of course have a tree too. And Sabrina was over when we were decorating the tree, and some friends I hardly ever see because they have small children now come over, and little kid could decorate the tree. And I think the tree's pretty.
Yes,
and it's
pretty.
pagan. So much of this stuff is totally pagan. So Santa Claus, the Christmas tree, and all of that. So do you have to, now you will still spend some Christmas with your family.
Yes.
Are they religious? Do you have to navigate that at all?
No, we've got it down pat now. We just, we all recognize that Christmas is about being together, and that's what we do. No one talks about religion, no one talks about politics, and it works.
Yeah.
It can be done. So that's why when I hear about all these families fighting over politics and religion at Christmas and things, I don't understand that, because we just don't talk about that. We talk about everything, but it's totally fine.
Yeah, I think the people who have a hard time are ones who are actually very much pressured by their family, going like, and we're going to pray for poor Jim who doesn't know the love of Jesus and is going to burn in hell. And it's just like, and then thank you for the food.
Well, there is a prayer. I just ignore it because I don't want to.
What do you do? Do you put your head down? Do you look up?
I just hold hands with my mom. What I'm going to do? She's 84, so I'm not going to fight it. But whatever. That's I can endure for 10 seconds. So.
Yeah. So, what about you, Sabrina? Do you have to navigate any? I mean, I know you're going to be at my house on Christmas, Christmas Day, and your family's
I have
in.
One side of the family that growing up was not religious, and recently has become religious, which is very odd for me, and I am having a hard time dealing with that when I interact with them.
Yeah.
Because that's not been our interactions in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have another side of the family that is very religious, and when I have done holidays with them since being non-religious myself, it has made things a little bit awkward, deciding not to go to church services. Right. And some of it depends. When my cousin was young and was in Christmas programs, I went.
Yeah.
Right? I just want to see her and see her perform. But once she was older past that stage, I bowed out for the religious things, and if there's a prayer, I do the same thing.
And did you get crap for that?
Yes. Yes.
Depends what religion you were, how much crap you get.
And it is. And that's
like you should come just because we want you to, or you're going to burn in hell.
I shouldn't have turned my back on God.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
That the outside world is getting to me.
Yeah.
That liberal education that I have.
Oh, yeah.
Those sorts of things.
Most of my family has liberal education. So, although on one side of the family is Catholic, and one side is varieties of Protestantism, but they're pretty mild. And I grew up in the Midwest, where we are polite. We are unfailingly polite. Like, the worst thing you can do is make a scene. And it's weird how it's sort of like everyone just knows I will not be going to church. You all can go to midnight mass, and I'll sometimes get a task. Like, you stay here, take the rolls out to rise at 10, and let in your niece and her husband when they get here. So I get tasks because it's just assumed I am not going, but we've never actually said it or talked about it or anything.
And it works out.
Yeah. So what about you, Marla? Does your family have any religious pressure or anything?
No, I'm not. My family all lives away from here, and so my mother and my brother, they don't go to church. So I'm not sure about any other family members. If they do, there's no pressure at all. It's not an issue. I've actually always kind of wanted to go to midnight mass to see the Catholic because it is interesting. And when I travel abroad, I always go to the churches because they have some amazing character to them and artwork. And I've been in Madrid for Holy Thursday and gone to mass. And
I always feel a little weird about that too. It's like gorgeous and historical, but I also think of how many people could be fed with all the wealth in that building, or especially when I was in South America and seeing things in places that were not wealthy areas, and it's like this is the wealth of this town in gold leaf on this.
But that's not something we do today, I'm sure. Build all these.
Have you heard of mega churches?
No, of course. But
Have you been on the D.C. Beltway?
What, is there something amazing there?
The Mormon.
Oh, the Mormons. Oh, the Mormon.
Yeah.
Oh, that's something I'd love to see. But most of you,
It
most
just
of you can't see if
rises
you're not a
up
Mormon.
off to the side of the Beltway.
So visible as that is, though, apparently there's a war on Christmas. So, what do y'all think about this war on Christmas business?
it's non-existent.
You know, and why people want there to be a war on Christmas?
I think Christians enjoy their persecution. They want to feel like the world is against them. When probably most atheists enjoy Christmas and celebrate it in their own way.
Yeah.
But, the whole thing about we can say Merry Christmas again. It's like no one was ever not allowed to.
Yeah. I had the thing that I was looking at. It was like when Donald Trump had this whole, we're having, and I think it was MSNBC that then basically had they did a montage of all the times Barack Obama said Merry Christmas, and he said Merry Christmas many, many times. But they were, I guess, upset because he also at Kwanzaa said Happy Kwanzaa, at Hanukkah said Happy Hanukkah, and and that seems to be what they're upset about, that anyone else is included.
They hate pluralism.
Right.
They don't want to recognize that other religions exist and don't give them the respect.
Right.
And there's also, to me, this aspect when people talk about it in retail situations. When you are a cashier of any sort, especially around the holidays, it is horrific.
Oh.
It is a nightmare job. And they're trying to smile and be polite and be happy and be helpful. And they have no idea what religion someone is.
Right.
How? Unless they are literally wearing a giant neon cross. Yeah. And even then, because there are certain sects of Christianity that don't do Merry Christmas and don't.
Right, so, like Jehovah's Witnesses.
Right, exactly.
Mm-mm.
So even then, you could be wrong.
Right.
Happy Holidays covers everybody.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why the offense is, since you did not say my particular holiday and you covered it, then somehow that's a slight. So it'd be like saying, everyone can have ice cream. Oh, you didn't mention me by name, and that's really mean.
And you didn't specifically say chocolate ice cream.
Right. And it's just, okay.
Why do you hate chocolate ice cream?
That was a cover. It covers all of them. It's all inclusive. So that way, no matter what you celebrate, or if you don't celebrate the holidays, they covered it, right? It is.
Do you think it's about that they are unhappy that they didn't get it said to them, or are they unhappy that everyone else isn't forced to hear it? Like, I want you to know that this is they really seem to believe it's a Christian nation, although it is in no way. But they want everyone to know that Christmas is the holiday of the land. I don't care who you are, but you need to know Christmas is it. But it's recognized.
Well, no, but they want it preferred.
I had lunch at La Madeleine today, and there's Fa La La Madeleine, and there are ornaments from the ceiling, and there is religious music playing. There was O Come All Ye Faithful, Angels We Have Heard on High, playing in there. There's a tree. If Christmas has been outlawed, it totally escapes me because I seem to see it everywhere. You know?
I find this really kind of interesting because I'm in healthcare, and there was a whole move back in the 90s where we actually needed to learn about all different types of religions, and so that we could better treat the patients. And so I've just been taught that I have respect for whatever you want to believe, or you want to believe, or you want to believe, and I, as my patient, I will help you to get the correct spiritual assistance that you need while you're in the hospital. And and then they have some. It's very important for us to know, because like Jehovah's Witness, very specific medical components of their care that violates their religion, and you don't ever want to.
So what would you do? Because there's been a couple cases on these, although I think it's been like in Veterans Hospitals, so it's actually a government facility, of some group that wants to come in and distribute Christmas cards to everyone, to all the patients. They're going to give everybody a Christmas card. And, they've been told not to do that. That they could give some kind of holiday card if they want. But no, they want it to be a Christmas card, and they want to give them to everyone, whether, whoever you are. There have been a couple of cases where churches wanted to go to their local VA hospital or whatever and hand out
It sounds
Christmas
like a sneaky way to
things.
proselytize or something.
Well,
because
and then
it's
they're
gotta
like, you're
be-
such a Scrooge that you won't let us hand out our Christmas cards. But I always wonder how they would feel if someone was handing out, like, Ramadan cards.
Yeah.
Do you think they'd be cool with it if we went and handed everybody the Ramadan card?
They would not be cool with that.
I always just replace it with, Muslim or Jewish or something and see, like, would it fly with them then?
Or Happy Festivus, or
Right. Yeah, well, I noticed that this is the article I have about Ivanka Trump tweeting Happy Holidays instead of Merry Christmas, defying her father's wishes.
Oh.
Yeah, this was Newsweek, and
I didn't see
said
that.
defying her father by using the controversial and secular phrase Happy Holidays. Controversial.
Controversial.
Happy Holidays has become controversial. Yeah.
I mean, I will say in the hospital, typically there's one evening or two right before Christmas where there'll be some carolers that come through. And I have never found anyone to be offended by that.
Oh,
I mean,
no.
it just kind of stops,
Yeah.
pause for a minute, and everybody
Yeah.
really enjoys that moment.
It's music.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've done the Christmas cards at the VA hospital.
Yeah.
And I admittedly, we did not. It was not a religious group.
Right.
And we did
And they
not
would have been,
do
in these cases, they would have been
religious
okay
cards.
if they were not religious cards, but these were people
They
who
were
really
just,
wanted to
they
insist
said
on
Merry
had a-
Christmas
they had a
on
hidden
them, or like
agenda.
had little Christmas trees.
Yeah.
We would go, depending on what it was. But we also did Valentine's Day cards.
Right.
And
and
we would
courts
go
have
around
ruled that
for
there's
other
sort
things.
of secular Christmas.
Yes.
That like candy canes and Santa Claus and reindeer and gingerbread
It's
houses.
just
Well, and that
cheap.
actually you can put a nativity scene on public property if it's part of a larger, more inclusive display. Lawyers sometimes refer to it kind of tongue-in-cheek as the three reindeer rule. That if you have enough other things to like dilute it, then it's okay.
Yeah.
But if you just have your big manger scene, then no. And they freak out if anyone challenges these things.
I guess like at my house, I have a German Christmas pyramid.
Right.
And there's the nativity scene on the top swirling around. So, but then I have a gingerbread house and I have a snowman in the other room, and so.
Well, and that's in your house.
Right.
The thing about stuff
but
being
what I
on
mean is
public
like
property.
it seems secular to me because
Right.
it's part of the big other traditions of Christmas that all go
Right.
together.
Right.
Because I don't have
There's always cases though every year where it's I think this year was one about the village of Elmore threatened with a lawsuit over the nativity scene that they have nativity scene that they put. It's on it's in like public government place and there's always there's always nobody's ever complained. And
It's not a reason.
yeah, well, and when people do complain, the response is not positive. They are often threatened with all sorts. People have actually been seriously harmed and harassed for bringing up some sort of violation, and they always have then a group called the Freedom from Religion Foundation from Wisconsin. They're always like they're from Wisconsin.
Like it's a foreign country.
Well,
That's
not
that liberal bastion of
well, and not
Wisconsin.
seeming to realize that they can't be there bringing a case unless they have a local plaintiff.
Right.
They always make it seem, but no, somebody local called the FFRF and was
Yes.
like, and they ended up moving it across the street to someone's house.
Fine.
Great.
Fine.
Happy now.
Done.
But they're really upset. They're like, so the yard's a temporary home for the nativity scene. So it's already underway to move it back to the public park, and the lawyer advised the village to make it the nativity scene part of an overall display.
With the
And
three
I don't know
reindeer.
why why does it have to be on the public land? It's like, why aren't you happy with across the
Because
street?
they want government to promote religion. That's why.
Well, because for some reason that is prosecution. If they can't have exactly what they want, where they want it,
Yeah.
They perceive it as
then
persecution.
it is prosecution. Yeah, persecution. I said prosecution, didn't I? I'm a lawyer in me.
Yes.
But that's sort of that idea, and that idea of, and even when it has to be made inclusive, there's a bit of that.
Oh yeah, they're annoyed at that
There's-
even.
Right.
You know, I don't know if you've
Right.
listened to the most recent episode of God Awful Movies. I just finished it.
Yeah,
but
I
it's
listened to it
about a town where this happens, and someone complains about the city nativity scene, and the person's that's the bad guy,
Yeah.
right? That's the villain in the movie is the person
Right.
complaining about a public nativity scene.
Yeah. And they don't seem to sort of understand that, because they always say, oh, you're violating their freedom of religion. by asking the government not to take any sides. And they sort of don't seem to understand that, first of all, you're using my tax dollars to sustain this thing. And it does give the impression that there are a favored religion. And so, like, these things are on a courthouse. Do you think as an atheist, as a Muslim, as a whoever non-Christian person, you're going to get the same consideration under the law if it's like all this Christian symbolism around? And that's the concern, that the government seems to be favoring some over others. And for some reason, that's their religious freedom, is only if you let them use the government to promote their religion are they free. They totally misunderstand.
It makes me think of recent, what would it have been like to be someone in Roy Moore's court? I mean, do you really think?
Right.
And you, as a non-Christian, how would you have been treated in that courtroom? I can't imagine. It would have been very good.
Yeah, yeah. Here is the Christmas-free campuses. Colleges encourage inclusive holiday celebrations. This is from Fox, and they have it on as in scare quotes, inclusive.
Yeah.
And it seems that college administrators and college campuses don't really have respect for freedom of religion, just like they don't really have respect for freedom of speech, because they wanted to make a sort of year-end celebration celebrating seasonal themes, such as fall, winter, spring, and ensure that office celebrations are not directly celebrating religious holidays, display diverse symbols representing a variety of faith traditions along with secular ones. That violates their freedom of religion.
Well, again, they're like a melting pot of all these different people with different religions and cultures. Right. So I think that it's a great place to start to teach people to be open to that. And
so why do you think it threatens some Christians so much to do that?
Because they want to know that they have the true religion. It bothers them that there are other religions that they don't believe their religion. Because their whole goal, Christianity started as you have to proselytize. You have to convince everyone that you have the one true religion. And when people don't accept it, like, well, why aren't you?
Right.
So they'll do anything to defend that, I guess.
Right. Yeah. And I think, like when you said about getting that liberal education, I think they see that as more of, colleges undermine our religion, and so don't go get educated.
Well, I once taught in a middle magnet school, which was pretty, I guess, liberal, open-minded, and we had a Hanukkah display, and we had a Christmas display. So it was, as long as we had all the different ones that represented it, nobody was bothered by it. Everyone kind of we liked it, oh.
Yeah, and it's fine, and it's legally fine if it's part of something that's inclusive. It's only a problem when you have only this one religion represented. And so then it really does give the impression that this is the religion of our government here, or this is public school is also a government institution. And that's interesting. There was a thing that I found both the complain version of it about the Portland public school choirs gagged from singing in a venue deemed too religious. And this is in Portland, Oregon, where you think of it.
Yeah.
But there's this place called the Grotto. It's a Catholic shrine. It is an extraordinarily religious space. It is absolutely a big, major religious shrine. And they would bring Catholic school students would come in there to sing, or not Catholic school students, I'm sorry, public school students. Many of them taking their choir class, so it's required for them to come and do this thing, and they are told they must sing religious songs. They are not allowed to be doing secular songs. And then the shrine actually charges money to other people to go and see the shrine and the holidays, including these students singing. So you have forced public school students, regardless of their religion, to go to a Catholic shrine, sing religious Christian songs for the profit of the Catholic shrine. And somehow saying that's not cool is, violating their freedom of religion. And then there's people who say that going after those kinds of things just makes atheists look bad. And the FFRF should not do that.
Well, that's what the FFR does. I mean, they fight for separation of church and state, and that is a violation of meddling church and state.
To think about those kids, like what happens for the Muslim child, or the Jehovah's Witness,
right?
Or anyone, even certain religions. There's certain branches of Christianity where you don't sing with accompanied music.
Yeah.
Like, You know, things like that. Like, you've got all these kind of things where and some of it would work, because if you're singing secular, it's not a problem. It's singing religious songs with instrumental music that is an issue. So you've got all of these different people, and as a child, most people are not comfortable standing up and saying, not me.
Right. Oh, of course, you don't want to be different.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, it's brought down all sorts of abuse on families who have complained and children who have, you know, not wanted to participate in various things. And because that again comes to, well, no one's ever complained. You know, well, have you really given people freedom to complain?
Well, I mean, it's not like they're being bullied by a peer. It's like they're being instructed by their teachers and administrators. So that's a totally different paradigm for the child to try to navigate.
Right. Yeah, then someone who has grade power over you, too. Because that's another thing is that, like, teachers who want to put a bunch of religious stuff in their classrooms and doesn't seem to understand that sort of implies that I like people of this religion. If you're in a lesser religion, maybe I don't like you as much, and if you need a grade from that person.
Now, as a teacher, you know, this time of year, you know, I like Christmas music, and I have some French CDs that I play. And before I put them in, I tell the kids, I said, I just want you to know I'm not religious, but I just like the music, and so I'm going to play this, and, you know, I'm not trying to proselytize anyone.
You don't make them sing it?
No, they just listen while we work, you know, and, you know, and it's a couple. So, and they're fine with that. They know that the goal is not to proselytize. It's just music.
Right. So we're getting close to the end. I wanted to ask, though, about what you guys think about the American Atheists. They usually put up some billboards. You know, they've been doing these at Christmas time. Like one of their first ones was one that said, "You know it's a myth." And now they have... this year's is "Just skip church, it's all fake news." You know, or they had the little "Dear Santa, all I want for Christmas is to skip church. I'm too old for fairy tales." Another one, "Dear Christians, I share my toys. Why won't you share the season? Happy holidays for all."
That's nice.
You know, and so they've been billboards, and people see that, and people scream. And in fact, there was even, I found a sort of response billboard. "Dear Santa, all I want for Christmas is for families to be able to keep Christmas sacred without being attacked on public billboards. Peace, dignity, and respect for all."
Wow.
Except not for you.
That's a doozy.
Attack. Is that an attack? Something like the things that American Atheist does. The ones like, you know, "We think this is a myth," or "These are fairy tales," or,
well,
you know,
prove
"Keep
it's not
married,
a myth if it's not.
Dump the myth."
Considering how many religious billboards, how many very, maybe not provocative, it's not the word, but very opinionated, anti-abortion, things like that, that are religious, that are everywhere. The giant crosses on the side of the road. It seems strange to be offended if someone has a billboard that goes against it. Like, it's very much, we can have our giant billboards, but you can't have anything else, and you can't ever be questioned.
Well, so it looks like we are running out of time here. And so thank you very much for joining us today. And I hope you'll join us for another episode of The Humanist Perspective next time.